Great. Good morning. Did you notice in the trailer they said, it's just programming? So that's fine. Future looks bright. We control it. We're the developers. We're making all of this stuff. So we should be okay. But anyway, that's the movie for tomorrow evening in this room, room 8. We'll have popcorn as well on us. So it should be a good movie on AI and robots, etc. I need to get this in. So let's see if my clicker works. That's the first thing. Yeah. So welcome to the 20th edition. Bloody hell, 20th edition. Woo! You saw the pictures like from 2002 and said, that's when I still had black hair. It's like, I had a baby face. It was like really crazy. But yeah, 22 years actually because, well, we skipped 2 editions because of COVID. So it's been 22 years. And yeah, it's just been a really great experience and really a community and a family. And yeah, we've also extended it to other countries. So it's really, really great. But sometimes you as an attendee, you come to these events and what you see is like a nice, elegant swan, right? You just see that this event works, everything plays, all the speakers are there, but underneath the water, the feet are going like crazy, like because there's lots of things that can go wrong, right? And you would think like, well, after 20 years, nothing can go wrong. This was Sunday. Sunday morning. So they turned on the audio panel and the airco was dropping some water droplets on the device that they didn't know about. So they turned it on and poof, device broken. So luckily it was Sunday morning because if it would have happened on Monday morning, we would not have any sound, right? Now, these guys at the AV team, and we should first give them a round of applause because they do an amazing job, right? I mean, Kun, he's been saying, like, Stephan, I can now, if you do a talk, 35 minutes after the talk, it will be on YouTube. So it's like they're really streamlined unbelievably, and yeah, that's really great. So all the talks from the last 2 days are already online, which you can enjoy when you're getting back. But it wasn't always like that. In 2004, 2006, I was spending 6 weeks after Devoxx, post-processing the talks and then putting them as a flash video file on a DVD, and then we would send it to people so they could rewatch the talks. Can you imagine that? And it was like a labor of love. It really was. And a lot of these DVDs, we had like this shrink-wrapped, and we send them to like Brazil and so on. And especially in Brazil, we got feedback from some people who bought the DVD, say like, I didn't get the DVD. I didn't get the DVD. What's happening? And they figured it out. And the problem is that the postman thought these were porn DVDs. So he kept it for himself. So we learned by mistake or by trial and error, so we wrapped it into a brown bag and then it was fun. But like, look at the theme, it's very woke compliant, right? As I think somebody was saying like, we will not be able to do this anymore in this stone and age. So, well, that's the beauty of being doing this very soon before all these movements happen and other people have control of what we can do and say. One thing that happened, let me make sure I didn't skip a slide. No, okay. So I'm just going to give you a few highlights for the people who've been coming to Devoxx for many years. There was one guy, he came all dressed up in a suit to the registration desk with a bit of a shaky voice. He said like, are you Stephan? I said, yeah. And by the way, I don't know what year it was. I don't have any pictures of it anymore. And he came and said like, are you Stephan? Yeah. My girlfriend, she's actually an attendee, and she's normally at 5 o'clock in room 8. I said, yeah, okay. I would like to propose to her. I said, like, what? Propose to her? And so, so your girlfriend is the geek, and you're the, no, I'm not in IT. And so like, but this is the right place. Yeah, I said, yeah. So I took him along, and then after the talk, the guys were like doing a I think it was on JavaFX, but I can't recall. If you know, if you were here, let me know, because I don't know the details anymore. But he actually then took the mic and he said like, honey, can you come down? And she like, yes, yes. And she was already like, okay, this is not normal, right? And then he went like on stage, like this, and they're like, will you marry me? And like the speakers will go look like, oh, like, or it's like, bloody hell. I mean, that's definitely one of the highlights of all the editions. I think the other highlight for me was in 2015. So this was, this is Dr. Lawrence Krauss, who talked about gravitational waves before they were announced a few months later, right? And we had this theme where we had the Pepper robot coming on stage, and me and my son, I was on the mono wheel and my son was on the hoverboard, and we were like cruising around. But what you don't know is that before, and this you can see it, at 8:42, we were practicing. Nobody was yet in the room, right? So we were practicing, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And he was doing this. I said, yeah, it works. And he said, Stephan, take a picture of me. So I was standing here. I took a picture of him. He has like 350,000 followers at that time. Now he has 500,000, right? So he tweeted this picture, said like, look at me. I've done this on the hoverboard, and I didn't fall, right? I took the picture. He continued, and he went, let me make sure, these cables here. He goes over it, but not fast enough. So he goes here, and I see this in slow motion. He goes here, he falls, he hits his head against this one here. My portable falls, and in my head, I go like, our next keynote speaker with 350,000 followers died at Devoxx. Seriously. And he fell, everything fell. And he's like, Lawrence, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just a bit hurt. Okay. And then we're sitting there, and everybody gets in, and I'm not going like, are you okay? Yeah. Do you want me to take another picture so you can say you fell? And no. We will. You know what? I will do the Q&A on the hoverboard. It's like, Lawrence, come on, please don't do that. Don't. No. He says, I need to conquer this. I will do the Q&A, and he did. He was like roving around doing questions. And bloody hell! And I was like praying to the gods. I'm not religious, but I was like, at that moment, it's like, please don't let him fall or die at the keynote. Bloody hell. So that's the swan, right? That's why I get this gray hair here on the left. That's probably from that situation that happened. Anyway, I could go on and on of anecdotes. I should probably write a book about it. But let's come to the meat of the presentation. And what I want to do is basically give a bit of an overview of the different themes of this year's edition. So practically, first thing first, on your badge, there's a QR code. If you scan that QR code, that will take you to the mobile app. And in the mobile app, you can actually rate the talks. So please rate the talks. Speakers really love that. You can even select some predefined compliments. You cannot enter any text, but you can at least define like if you liked it or not, etc. This was developed by Frederic and his colleague, I forgot it, Xavier, sorry. And they're doing a talk tomorrow about the mobile app. It's open source. It's still not, it's work in progress as always. I still need to make sure that the speakers get the ratings after the talk has happened. But if you are a speaker, next week you will go to the CFP Dev tool, and there you will see all the ratings and the feedback. So that's really important, because speakers would like to know if they can improve their talk or not, or if it's already perfect, or if they're already a Venkat-like personality, right? So that's that. The Wi-Fi, also important. Make sure everybody's connected, because I'm going to do a poll in a few minutes. So make sure everybody's connected. And I've changed the password to Devoxx Forever, which means that password will stay forever Devoxx in the upcoming editions. This event is not possible, without a great team. And I mean, you've seen some pictures. It's really almost autopilot. I mean, I would like to really thank our teams and doing a great job at the registration desk, helping bags and so on. So let's give it a round of applause for them as well, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And there's, of course, for me, I'm on stage, but really the conference queen is my wife, Christine, and I would like to thank her, of course. Without her, I would have been broke several times already, right? I'm really chaotic when it comes to administration, etc. And like with the registration, it was for us really a bit of a nightmare. I mean, it's a luxury problem to be sold out in a couple of seconds, but then you get the phone calls of all the people who weren't able to get in, and I really hate it. I really hate it, and I do apologize, but it's like, yeah, what can we do? How can we fix that? I don't see a solution. Some people say, go to another venue. No way. No, I've been here for 22 years. I'll stay here for the next 22 years if it's possible. But these screens are just amazing, right? The setup and so on. So it is what it is. I think we'll probably do like 3 batches, like a batch of 1,000, 1,000, and then maybe do one with a lottery as well, so we can spread it a bit. Who actually used bots to get the registration in? Nobody. Okay. I mean, we didn't really see any patterns that people are using bots, so it is really companies with 10 people at a time, all refreshing. And trigger, yeah, I'm in. Okay, good. So it's like the Taylor Swift type of situations. But we're living in exciting times, and I think that really reflects in what we are doing at the conference this week. I think the main themes for us are, of course, Java, AI, and a bit of physics. And so those are the 3 themes I want to actually discuss a bit in my welcome talk here. Is that good thing is that timing-wise, we're really always nicely matching the Java release or the cadence of every 6 months. So I was really happy that I was able to actually get a lot of Oracle engineers to talk about Java. And last month we had the release of Java 21. We actually have 38 talks related to Java and Java 21, right? I mean, we have the main architect, Mr. Brian Getz, flying all over to talk about it, and he's like doing every day multiple talks, right? So I'm really happy that we were able to make this happen. I think we have about 17 people from Oracle, mainly engineers and a few DevRel people as well, talking about all the new goodies, and also even on Friday, the future of what's going to happen in the Java language. So I'm really excited about that. So thank you, Oracle, and all the engineers for making this happen. So who remembered the whiteboards we used in the hallway? So this is a picture from 2013, where I think it was Stephen Colburn who did a lot of management of the whiteboards, and he was like putting questions and people could vote, right? So this is still one where we said like, which IDE are you using, right? So I thought it would be a cool way and to stress the Wi-Fi and see if I can do a denial of service attack. And so I've got a few online surveys, so get your phone out. Go to this website, slido.com, or scan the QR code, and then enter the devil's numbers, 6606676, and see if you can vote. Let's see if this works. Oh, yeah. 13, 23, 49. Let me get a drink while you're doing that. And keep it open, because I will have multiple, actually, questions that I would like to get from you guys. I want to wait till we reach 1,000 people, so it's a really good representation. By the way, for the people who are using, like 200 people using Gradle, Gradle does have a booth at the exhibition floor, so you can talk to the engineers as well. But it doesn't come as a surprise. I think the majority does still use, 76% uses Maven. 1% Ant? You should change your job, man. You should change your job. And then Scala, yeah, SBT. Why not? Okay, let's go to the next one. What's the highest version of Java you're using in production? Don't tell me you have 21 in production. There are more options down, because I'm not scrolling, so, you know. It's just an indication, but yeah, 60% of 1,400 people are between 12 and 17. So that's not bad. I did validate it with Brian, but we only have like 4 options, so I couldn't do every version separately, but that's good. Let me see if I can scroll down. Wow, Java 7 and below, 0. That's good. Okay, next. Do you use other JVM languages? So JetBrains is going to be happy to see Kotlin already. 390 people, 500. Still a lot of groovy. Guillaume Laforge will be happy. So majority is Kotlin. So there again with Kotlin, you know, the IDE is of course IntelliJ. Okay. Make sure you take a picture so you can tweet about it, because I'll forget to do that. So this was a question from Brian, which is interesting from an Oracle point of view. Does your employer pay anyone for Java support? I was afraid of the no thing. Brian, don't take a picture of this. Well, 16%. Still, you know. 17. Don't know, sorry, 10%, excuse me. Well, that's still 157 multiplied by 2 million. Should be good. All right. I'll do some more later on, but physics, that's the next theme for this year's edition. Well, not really, because we only have 2 talks on physics, which is 2 talks on quantum computers. Johan Vos is doing a talk. He wrote a book on quantum computers. He has a PhD in applied physics, but he's also running and driving JavaFX forward. And he's a really smart, interesting person to talk to. I've been following, like, the beauty of running this Devoxx event is that after this event, I have 4 months where I can do, again, research, reading books about. I have to ask, who has seen the congressional hearing in end of June in Washington? Bloody hell, only a few. Okay, I will not go deeper into that, but it's just a small hint. I'm like into this rabbit's hole. But there's lots of interesting things happening in physics. For example, last week, antimatter gravity was proven. It looks like you're not really excited about that. Okay, I'll move on. I'll come back to that, don't worry. Last year in November, they did, on a quantum computer, they created an entanglement and created a holographic wormhole at the University of Harvard. You go. Yeah. Seriously, do you know what that means? Come on, am I the only geek in this room? What's going on here? Bloody hell, get your facts right. So there's a question mark in there because it's already been not fully debunked, but they're not sure if it's a holographic wormhole, but it might be a wormhole on a quantum computer. That gets me exciting, and it's like, okay, fine. It looks like, oh, I'm not the only one, I'm for sure. But there's some other things like zero-point energy. This is like more pseudoscience, but this could really, if this is true, and you should go into that rabbit hole as well. There's like 20 people who have actually found zero-point energy, and they all died mysteriously. So again, if you want to have fun, that's weekend stuff, right? If it rains, you can go in that rabbit hole really way down, and it's very, very interesting stuff. But of course, the best way to learn physics is where? In CERN, right? We had the privilege, Antonio and many others, Federico, Celestino, and so on, we had the privilege to be there because we actually had a Vox Days event there. So, like the dark matter gravity thing, that was announced last week at CERN, of course. It's Europe, right? Us Europeans are doing this. So I would like to come and welcome on stage Christian, who works actually at CERN, to announce Vox Day CERN. Christian, welcome to Devoxx. Come over here, come over here.
Thanks, Stephan. Right, so CERN joined the Vox Days family in 2017. We had 2 events since then. We had Vox Days 2017, Vox Days 2019, and then there was a big change in the world, right?
Yeah.
Well, CERN changed as well, and we're happy to say that we have a new exciting exhibition center. It's called the Science Gateway, which also features a lot of auditoriums for people to come and present their interesting discoveries on quantum machine learning, AI, and so on and so forth.
Hold on. Did you hear that? Quantum machine learning. I didn't even knew that existed. Quantum machine learning. Singularity is around the corner, right?
Well, actually, what we do at CERN in terms of simulation can be helped a lot by quantum computing, because we can generate events in the same way as they happen in the accelerator, and then compare what comes out of the accelerator with the simulation, but usually it's slow because it's Monte Carlo simulations, right?
Yeah.
With quantum computing, you can differentiate those things exactly as if you were doing it on a machine learning algorithm, like a neural network, right?
Okay.
And then you can create QGANs, right? So generative adversarial networks, but using quantum computers, right? And we've been doing this in production for like the past 2 or so years. There are people which are more experts than me on this subject. But if you want to know more about it, or if you want to participate with a talk, I invite you on the 22nd and 23rd of January 2024 to come to CERN. You have the website over there.
Registration has been opened as of now, so you can join. I think it's like 500 Swiss francs to join. It's 2 days. You'll be able to actually visit some museums, some labs. I think the dark matter lab, is that right?
So we have a quantum world exhibition. We have an exhibition about the beginning of the universe, and one which is related to accelerators in CERN.
Okay.
Right? Those will be freely accessible to people that come. And then we're also going to be organizing guided tours of CERN facilities, such as the antimatter factory.
The
place where they published the paper from on Nature like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
We'll be organizing visits for the first 100 participants, which are coming. That's an incentive for you guys to register fast. And then, of course, the speakers will also get their own private guided tours of CERN.
If you're a Catholic, you want to go to Lourdes once in your life. If you're a scientist, you have to go to CERN once in your life, right? It's the holy ground, right? So this is your chance to join, and we'll have already some speakers as well listed up, so it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, we already have 8 speakers confirmed, but we need up to like 25, so there's plenty of spots left for all of you guys.
Great. Well, thank you, Christian, and it's an honor to have our event there at CERN.
Thanks a lot, Stephan.
And by the way, we were doing like a bit of a road trip. So the Friday before CERN, we have also Vox Days Ticino, which is the 19th of January in the beautiful city of Ticino. So, and then you can actually take a train and do the road trip from Saturday to Sunday and go to Geneva. So that's also opening up on our website. So make sure if you want to have a nice weekend, that this is really the place to go. So the third and last topic I want to discuss is AI, of course. We have 27 talks on AI this year, which is the most we've ever had. And it's, of course, very obvious why, right? I mean, it's the whole explosion of the large language models. I mean, last year we had actually an opening keynote by Dr. Alan Thompson talking about large language models, but ChatGPT wasn't even invented, or not, yeah, it was invented, but it wasn't released yet. It was only in November that they released ChatGPT. And since then, it's like 11 months. I think our lives have changed. I mean, at least it has mine. I mean, I'm like using it, as a partner to think about, physics and other philosophy things and so on. And you do get, I mean, for me, it's amazing, right? But we've only scratched the surface. I mean, you're already now seeing these other large language, and there's many, 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 many more, right? But you already are seeing like these new versions getting bigger context. Like in the beginning, we only had 4K of a context. Now it's already 32, 64, 100K, like with Claude 2. Like Claude 2 last year, it's Anthropic, I believe. They got 4 billion investment from Amazon. 4 billion. They got 100,000 contexts. So that means you can almost give a complete book and then start asking questions and doing some crazy things on the content. It's just amazing. But I think what I'm looking forward to is Gemini. I was hoping, I actually tried with Guillaume to get Gemini exposure here, but it's too soon. They're going to release it in a couple of weeks or months. But this is Google's answer to ChatGPT. Now, I don't know if you know this, but well, we had Devoxx Ukraine last week, a virtual one, unfortunately, still. And we had Alan Thompson talk again about AI. You definitely have to watch his talk. And he actually said that they did an IQ test on ChatGPT. And do you know what level of IQ ChatGPT 4 has? Insane. No, insane is not the right answer. 155. Right? And Alan Thompson, he's really into this stuff much more deeper than I am. He says that there are rumors that Gemini will have an IQ level of 220. There's only, I've heard there's only one person who has an IQ of 220 in the world. I'm not sure he's on stage here, but he's maybe in the room. Ah. But seriously, no, I'm definitely not that smart at all. I'm just very good at faking it. But what you're seeing as well is that we are seeing these agents creating automatically Python code, etc. Really crazy things. We're now seeing, since last week, we have browsing in ChatGPT. So you can actually, with all the fake answers, which he or she can give very convincingly, like, yeah, it must be right because the text we get is so convincing, but it's fake news, so to speak. It's now using browsing, so it will validate on Wikipedia if the facts are right. The new thing we are seeing, which we will get in the next week, is multimodal interfacing. So multimodal means that you can give it a picture, and it will understand. It's like OCR on steroids. So you can even draw like a screen and then say, create me an HTML page for that. Right? Or take a picture of a very sophisticated mathematical formula, and it will understand the formula and actually explain it. Go like, bloody hell. So locality is another thing. People are afraid for privacy. So what's happening? We're just installing these large language models locally on our machine, and it doesn't even leave the data and the context that you're giving it, it just stays on the machine. So let's be honest, if it has an IQ of 155, we've already reached the stage of artificial general intelligence. The Turing test has already been passed 10 months ago. Would you agree with that? Just raise up, oh wow, not that many actually. That's interesting. Come to the registration though. I'd love to talk about these things. So, I would love to hear your opinion. But I think we've already reached artificial general intelligence. What we haven't reached yet is artificial superintelligence. And this is where you can ask a question, how do I solve cancer? How do I cure cancer? And it will come up with a solution which our scientists have never thought about. And that's the next level. And then, of course, if you look at AlphaGo, what DeepMind did, where the first version, it was learning on 100,000 games, and it was learning of 100,000. Then they did AlphaZero, which you just gave it the dimensions of the board game, and it was playing against itself. And after one day, it was smarter than the first version, which had studied 100,000, right? So if we come into that situation, then basically we are moving towards singularity. That's a bit the thing. And that's both scary, but also really exciting. I mean, just think about like the zero energy thing. You could ask like, hey, is there a way to create zero energy without combustion engine and so on? And so we're basically on this exponential growth, which will just take us to the stars and beyond. I truly believe that. But like with the movie, the trailer, who knows what's going to happen? It might actually do and be so smart, they go like, well, these aliens, they're actually a virus. We should kill them all. Who knows, right? But interesting, just the fact that we are able to talk about this, like the fact of what is consciousness, what is awareness, but it's linked to AI, like can AI have an awareness? That's science fiction, but we're talking about that. That's like, I'm so glad I'm still alive to actually experience this. It just blows my mind. Exciting times. So, of course, I've been playing with this stuff as well. I've been doing Python a lot in November, December, but now what you're seeing is that there's more and more Java solutions coming out as well. The semantic search that we have on our website, I first developed that in Python. I was using pickles and NumPy and so on. But these days, you can really already start doing this in Java. And so I'm really happy to actually have a related talk about this. We had a talk by Greg on Monday afternoon about LangChain. It's a Python library. But there's actually a Java version of that. So make sure you go to this talk. It's actually by a Belgian colleague who's presenting this. And it's completely in Java. It even runs with a local large language model. So if you're doing a search on the Devoxx website, it will not even go outside because it has a large language model embedded. So the locality, which I was referring to, is just there. So check that out. There's many other ones. I know Bruno from Microsoft will say, yeah, but what about semantic kernel? Yes, so Microsoft has also I haven't really looked into that, so I don't know the details. Talk to Antonio, the Portuguese guy with the long hair. No, I'm joking, but Antonio also knows a lot more about semantic kernel. If you see him, just talk about it. But there's the beauty, the reason why I'm showing this slide is that the Java ecosystem is really picking up the pace. Like, for example, the whole Babylon, I'm hoping, but also the foreign functions and memory API, the vector API, I think José might be covering that. There's really an interesting movement. And the point I want to make is that we will be able to do GPU Java-based applications in the near future. So make sure you check out Babylon as well, because I think that's also GPU-based, right, Brian? Is it going in that direction? Yeah, so he's nodding, so yes. So exciting times. You don't have to be a Python developer to enjoy the beauties and the powers of large language models. So I wanted to do a few Q&As also about this, just to get a glance of like, what is your involvement? And this is basically, I'm setting up the stage for the next walk-on. But which IDE are you using? I probably know the answer, but I want to make it formal. Do you see that, Anton? So 1,500 people have replied, more or less. Yeah, 1,500. 88% uses IntelliJ. It does not come as a surprise, right? 1% NetBeats doesn't come as a surprise either, unfortunately. VI Emacs, I think James Gosling is also here in the room and replying. He is in the building, right? So he is here. Make sure you meet him. And they will also do at the Amazon booth, they will even do a photo op thing. So make sure you use that opportunity. Next question. Do you integrate large language models like ChatGPT into your software projects? Really would love to know. Wow, not allowed. Makes sense. Only 7%. Wow, only 7%. No way, never. Why? If you said no way, never, come to the registration and talk to me. I'd love to know. I just want to know. You can yell. Why? Why not? Privacy? No way, never. Well, no way, never is no, right? Not allowed. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Last one. Do you use ChatGPT or similar AI-driven chatbots to assist you with your software development tasks? I can answer for me. I use it every day. Every day. It's my, you like pair development? It's like my pair developer. Once in a while? Never. Only 20% daily. Seriously, you don't know what you're missing out. Well, if you're using IntelliJ, and if you've never done this, I think the next keynote walk-on makes a lot of sense. And I would like to welcome Anton. I will not pronounce your last name, but Anton from JetBrains. Welcome, Anton.
Hi.
Welcome to Devoxx. So Anton works from JetBrains, and I pushed him a bit to actually do a demo of their latest AI assistant plugin in IntelliJ. Now, for all fairness, I could have also asked Amazon with Code Whisperer and do the same demo. There was a very interesting talk in the Tools in Action on Monday where they were comparing GitHub Copilot, Code Whisperer next to each other. Have a look at that. So there's multiple solutions out there, and they have even different, I would say, features. Like one of the features was also that it was showing the code that it suggested. It was showing the license of where the code came from, and then you could agree if you want to endorse that license or not. So it's moving very fast. But Anton, it's all yours. You've got a demo for us, right?
Yes, I have a demo of work in progress plugin for IntelliJ. We call it AI Assistant. Stephan, you have tried it.
I've used it already for 2 months now.
Perfect. So I have a small demo that demonstrates most of the features of the plugin at the state of the last week. It's not something that you get your hands on right away. It's a private beta right now. Thank you. And I wanted to simulate a situation where you work with a legacy code. Of course, it's very exciting to try AI assistance for generating the new code in your application, starting from scratch, or please generating the controller, the service, the database, and so on. But the reality is that we have project generators anyway, and actually, AI assistant might be very useful for working with the existing code and making sense of the existing code. So what I want to demonstrate here is a situation where I'm developing a new service, of course with Spring, and I have a single controller, I have a single endpoint, and then I integrate some legacy code into my application that does something, the algorithm. Can you make sense of this code right now? Anyone? It's not a bubble sort, I can assure you. It's not factorial either, but I used to work with the code like this, and it took quite a lot of time to make sense and come up with meaningful variable names and so on, because just by reading the code, you don't know. And today, I can just do Alt-Enter. Alt-Enter is the favorite shortcut in IntelliJ. When in doubt, click Alt-Enter and you will be happy. And select this AI actions menu. And there we have a few actions that are available right now in the plugin. And I can ask it to explain the code. It's going to collect the context. It analyzes the code. So it sees the dependencies, what kind of classes are used in that specific part of the code and where it's used. And so it assembles a context. It makes a request to the backend service, and we get a response. And by looking what it's streaming right now, we can tell, right, it knows about the algorithm. It really has a name. We're not going to dive into the algorithm itself, but it explains me piece by piece what the code does, and it's very useful. Of course, I have to read that. It's like reading the documentation, so that's a good skill, reading the documentation anyway. Anyone reading it? All right. All right. So the AI assistant knows what the code does. And normally, if I had to work with the code like this, I would look for this kind of snippets and try to extract in methods. And when we look at this snippet of code right now, there's like single letter variable names and so on. And the best the IDE could do for you when extracting the method, it could suggest the names just based on the variable name or the type. But since the AI assistant now knows the domain specifics of the algorithm, it can actually suggest better names for us, like find the smallest x coordinate. All right, maybe we can ask to do something else. Maybe we can ask to analyze the code for us and find any problems in the selection. And it will tell us, oh, you're returning a null, or you're not checking for the null. It might find some shortcomings of the algorithm as well.
So does that mean like what Snyk is doing with their plugin for like security issues? Is that in that sphere or?
I think it's somewhere on the edge.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yes, you can ask for like specifically check for the security issues.
Wow, scary.
And it can respond something.
Bloody hell.
Something. All right, so it tells me, yeah, there is a list of issues it found, and it suggests, well, I could do one by one, or like through this list one by one and try to fix the code. But there is a better way of doing this. Suggest refactoring action. So it will again send the whole context to the service. Analyze it, give me a summary of the changes it proposes to make, rename to meaningful names, and then generate a better code for me. And then by looking at the code, I can actually add more context to it via the chat. So you have seen I have not been typing anything, any messages in the chat. I was using the Alt Enter, for calling the actions, and I'm just getting the responses. And I think chat should not be the primary thing. Chat should be for the complementing the context when you're working with this tool, but all the work is actually happening in the editor. And now it generated the response for me, and I can see, well, there is a change that it generated. It's basically a patch. I can see it renamed the class. Maybe it's too big of a change for my code. And I can ask it to do something else like keep class and method names. So I'm adding more context. I'm adding constraints to whatever the chat did for me right now. And it will be streaming a new version of the code with the old class names. That might be cryptic, but I'm fine with that at this moment. And then I can just apply this patch once it's generated. And obviously, it didn't really apply all the best practices like replacing standard output with logging, but you can add those constraints via chat as well. So let's apply the changes. Just accept. Looks good. I hope I didn't break anything.
Does it work? Run the test. Yes.
Run the test. I don't have any tests. But nobody prevents me of generating the test with the AI assistant, right? We're going to see that in a moment. But, well, we first need to document this. Looks good to me. Right. So, of course, those usability things that we have in the IDE with Alt-Enter, you can assign your own shortcut for popping up this list like right away without Alt-Enter even. So we mentioned unit test, and you can start any chat for a specific element that you selected in the editor, and let's do that. So generate unit tests for this code. And when you start doing this, it might be that the operation that you might be repeating all the time. And then it actually makes sense not to do that every time separately for each piece of code that you want to work with, but rather have your own prompt like this and do that for the selection. Give it a name, unit tests. Okay, and then we actually will have an action in the pop-up called unit tests. So this is a convenience thing, but it lets you not to use the chat as often. Generate. All right, we're not going to run the tests anyway. Maybe they will fail. But what else could you do, like besides working with the code? And we are trying to extend our workflows as much as we could in the ID. And for instance, if we go into Git log, of course, I was experimenting with this previously, so I'm going to have a few commits in my code, and they are cryptic as well. So I improved the code. Doesn't tell you much, but then you can ask the AI assistant, could you please explain what you actually did there? And you're going to get a response, you see. So currently, quite a few teams are working on integrating the AI assistant in different IDs we have, like IntelliJ, WebStorm, PHP Storm, for all the technologies. And eventually, the efforts will be converged in one set of features and actions. And we hope to make it available quite soon. This is a work in progress, as I said. And if you want to talk about it more, we have a booth at the expo. Please come and talk to me, ask questions, and I'm happy to answer those.
Great. Thank you, Anton. Before you run away, I do have a few questions. So the first question is locality. Right. So I want to have my own installed, and there's a talk about that, GPT for all, later on today, I think, where I install an open source large language model locally, so I don't break the privacy of the company and so on. Is that possible? Is that on the roadmap? Or are you guys thinking about it?
This is something we are looking into. There will be a talk about our service, about the architecture of our
today in room 5.
Right. So Vladislav will be talking about this, and I hope he will reveal some light on that.
Okay, so locality. Is this going to cost me an arm and a leg?
Well, the pricing model is what we are working on right now. This is why it's not public yet.
Yeah.
And I hope the team will come up with something soon, sooner rather than later. I was hoping to give you an answer today, like more definite answer,
no
but
problem,
they didn't provide it.
But you said like last time, you said like it shouldn't be more than a couple of coffees, or is that still
lunches? Well,
coffees and lunches. Okay, that's a broad range.
Yeah,
okay.
we need to calculate precisely.
Sure,
right?
Yeah, no, great. Wow, I mean, if you would have shown that, like, it's mind-boggling. I mean, again, it's only like a couple of months old, these things, so just imagine what's going to be next year. Right?
Well, I can tell that the demo I showed you in 5 minutes would have taken me in real life probably a few days without the AI assistant to figure out what this code is doing and make it normal and generate some tests and so on. And here I was able now to actually be very productive with that. So it's not an enemy here, it's a productivity boost.
Yeah, it's your pair developer. Great.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Anton. Thanks. Thank you. So yeah, make sure, I don't know if you can bring up the slides, but so this afternoon, I've really pushed JetBrains to actually get the guy who's involved in this development, Vladislav. He's going to do a talk in room 5 at 2 o'clock, and he's going to go much deeper into that. And like he said, Anton said, if you have already questions, go to the JetBrains booth. And in all fairness, go to the Amazon booth as well. They got Code Whisperer, which is also doing some crazy shit stuff. And unfortunately, Microsoft doesn't have a booth here, but talk to Antonio and some other people. They're also, everybody's doing something in that area, so it's bound to touch your life. All right, so I got still 6 minutes left, so I think I will wrap it up here. So I would say enjoy Devoxx, enjoy the 20th edition. One thing I do have to say, we're with a lot of people here today and tomorrow. Be professional. If the room is full, just walk away. The talk will be available in the evening or tomorrow morning. During the lunch, that's the moment I have the most stress, is because during the lunch, everybody goes downstairs. Be patient, be professional. There's enough foods. We've got some great salads this year, seriously. We got a new caterer and they're doing a great job. But just don't start pushing it so on, otherwise I will have to reduce the number of tickets next year and I don't really want to do that. So have a great 20th edition, guys. Enjoy this week, right?